Enter the Gungeon is a game that still feels distinctly unique 10 years after it came out, and to understand why that is, we need to look at where the roguelite genre came from and how it got where it is today. After the peak of the arcade craze, gaming started to move into the home thanks to consoles like the Atari 2600 and Magnavox Odyssey, as well as the small but growing prevalence of home computers. A big challenge in making games at that time was storage. Even the top-of-the-line PC with a cutting-edge hard drive would only get you 5 to 10 megabytes, and most PCs had no hard drive, only using 200 kilobyte floppy disks, so games had to be small, like only a few levels small, heavily limiting replayability. That was until two mad scientists at UCSC said, oh, what if instead of designing the levels by hand, we got the computer to generate the levels each time you start the game? And thus, Rogue was born. Based on tabletop RPGs like Dungeons & Dragons, the player controls a character who must fight their way through the layers of a dungeon by killing progressively harder monsters and collecting stronger weapons and armor in the process. And due to storage limitations, this was all represented in a text interface, which means that this was a zombie and this was a dragon. It's funny to look back at Rogue knowing that it inspired an entire genre of video games, because can you even call this a video game? I mean, where's the video? More of a .txt game if you ask me. But despite its limitations, Rogue established the conventions of the genre that would go on to be named after it, like procedural generation, item rewards, room-to-room dungeon crawling, and most importantly, permadeath. Following Rogue's success, hundreds of developers attempted to put their own thematic twist on the formula it had established, with these games dubbed Roguelikes in the mid-90s. But it wouldn't be until 2008 that the fast-paced platformer Spelunky showed that the roguelite formula didn't have to be restricted to turn-based combat, opening up Pandora's box of possibilities for the genre. 3 years later, The Binding of Isaac, a flash game about a boy escaping into his basement to hide from his schizophrenic mother and fight living poop with his tears, came out and brought roguelites from relative obscurity into the limelight. Playing into the genre's strengths, Isaac is defined by variety and replayability. There are 135 monsters, 74 bosses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 endings, and 196 items. And that's before you count the DLC. The items are where Isaac really went sicko mode. Instead of individual weapons and armor, Isaac's items function as passive modifiers that can be stacked on top of each other, so that every combination of items creates its own series of effects, making each run feel unique, with the side effect that if you stack enough of these effects, you can achieve the crack cocaine level high that is a god run. Isaac's passive item system became extremely popular in roguelikes that followed it, but getting these items entirely at random was much less popular, probably because it meant that some runs looked like this, and others looked like this. So pretty soon developers came up with a solution to give more control to the player. 3 choices, baby! Nuclear Throne, Downwell, Nine Kings, Ball X Pit, Brotato. Basically every modern roguelike uses this mechanic, with Slay the Spire being the game that popularized it. But while giving players this much agency is a great fit when adding individual tools to your arsenal in a deck builder, using that approach for static, permanent upgrades runs the risk of making your decisions here more important than your ability to execute here, compromising the importance of actual gameplay. That's not to say it can't work. Hades probably gives you the most control out of any roguelike, not only giving you 3 options to pick from, but also letting you see what rewards each room will offer, and you can bring a trinket that lets you guarantee a specific reward pool. But it balances this out by having a huge amount of upgrades that are separated into different god pools, and by making most of those upgrades conditional on your ability to execute within its incredibly deep combat system. And also by making the game really fucking hard. Oh no! Most games don't pull it off though, and for those games, Choose 3 mechanics only end up making runs more stale and repetitive as players naturally trend towards the most powerful synergies, taking Isaac's item system that created variety and turning it into a tool that creates uniformity. Despite their booming popularity today, for a long time roguelikes were a pretty unapproachable genre, mostly because of that soul-crushing feeling of losing all your progress after every run. Which is why Isaac came in with a trick up its sleeve. Every time you reach a new milestone or achievement, you unlock items, and some of these items become starting equipment, both adding variety and improving the starting conditions for future runs, subtly rewarding players for their progress. Like with the passive items, other developers saw this idea and said, let's do that, but like way more. And so games like Rogue Legacy and Dead Cells use progression systems that let you unlock new abilities, or just directly increase your strength, making each run easier than the last. Once again, Hades does this the best. When you unlock all the upgrades, the difficulty in this game is perfect, but at the same time, if this is the optimal way to experience the game, what was the point of making me play that bullshit ass game that's way too hard for the first 15 hours? Couldn't you have just had all this stuff to begin with? Where it gets really messy is with games like Vampire Survivors and Megabonk, where your ability to clear levels is so dependent on your stats that it's literally impossible to win without the necessary upgrades. So you just play each run to buy more upgrades to have better runs, so you can buy the silver upgrade to get more money to buy more upgrades, and farm the crops to build your settlement to get more money to get more rerolls so you can pick better items to get better runs. It was around this point that I realized that somewhere along the way, roguelike developers forgot about the most important part of a video game: gameplay. Just like I forgot that this video is about Enter the Gungeon. Enter the Gungeon was unique when it came out, but it's a lot easier to see that now looking back. They didn't go in the 3-choice direction, sticking with the patented take it or leave it system, and the only progression between runs is these NPCs you can rescue, which can either let you unlock new items or show up in future ones as shops, like the Map Guy, Curse Lady, Challenge Duo, or the Carnival Game Guy, which is my favourite minigame in any roguelike ever. By limiting the player's control over the conditions of a run, Gungeon puts the focus entirely on learning enemies' attack patterns and mastering the combat system. And I know what you're thinking, isn't that just Isaac with guns? Well, yeah, kinda, but that's because when every other roguelike was focused on innovating with new ideas and mechanics, Gungeon was focused on refining the ideas that already worked. Gungeon clearly takes a ton of inspiration from Isaac, but it also fixes the annoying issues that held Isaac back, like backtracking. One of the most annoying things in Isaac is clearing a set of rooms just to realize you're at a dead end, so now you gotta walk back. Oops, wrong way again. Meanwhile in Gungeon, wrong way? The teleporters are such a simple fix, but in a game where you just want to go, that little difference helps the sense of flow a lot. Same thing with the rat who steals items left on the ground, which combined with the save hearts for later system, prevents you from backtracking for resources like ammo and health. By taking the emphasis off optimization, Gungeon keeps the focus on real-time combat decisions, and its combat system hides a lot of depth under the hood. Obviously you have the roll to dodge through bullets, but you also have blanks which are like panic buttons that clear the screen, but you have to use them wisely since you only get 2 each floor. You can slide over tables and kick them over for cover. You can roll explosive barrels into enemies and blow them up, and shooting switches will drop chandeliers or rocks from the ceiling. Of course, the defining feature of Gungeon's combat is the guns, which allow you to have different tools for different situations and provide for a huge variety in attacks, both between and within runs. And on top of that, you have passive items which can change how your bullets work, and synergies which can revamp your gun's effects. Because the guns are separate, you don't get to have that same level of item stacking that other roguelites have, but this keeps runs from becoming so powerful that you can't lose. And when you do get a powerful setup, limited ammo means you still have to think about when to use it. The effect of all this is that even with all these tools at your disposal, Gungeon is hard, like really goddamn hard. Take the Bullet King. This guy can shoot shotgun blasts at you, throw fire on the ground, shoot a bomb that explodes into a million small bullets that go everywhere, create a storm of bullets with tiny gaps you have to weave through, and as that's happening, he'll shoot another ring of bullets at you. That's the easiest boss in the game. And it's not just the bosses, the regular enemies are little fuckers too. You got these guys who can curve bullets around walls, the shotgun guys burst with bullets when they die, floating hammers will try to crush you, the magicians can shoot bullets that shoot their own bullets, and other magicians absorb your bullets and shoot them back at you. You got chests that are actually mimics, zombies that crawl out of the ground and chase you down, and these guys are just straight up fucking evil. When you first pick up the game, between the enemies, bosses and items, the amount of new information being thrown at you is overwhelming. But over time you slowly learn the attack patterns, you start using the environment to your advantage, you learn the boss fights, and as you learn you keep pushing further, becoming more consistent, until you make it to the final boss, the dragon. The first time I made it to the dragon, I had died 88 times. The first time I killed him and beat the game, I had died 97 times, and before my 100th death, I beat him again, twice. The main reason for this is all the knowledge and skill I had accumulated, but another part of it is that just as much as Gungeon demands precision and mastery, it also rewards it. The less you get hit, the more money enemies drop, giving you more health, armor, keys and items from shops. And clearing a boss without taking damage gives you an extra heart, which means that as you get better and more consistent, the game literally becomes easier, and your runs get stronger. Now remember when I said Gungeon has basically no progression? Well, I was only talking about before you beat the game, because once you do, you are rewarded with one of the best endgames in any video game ever. With extra game modes that are actually fun, secret characters, a new secret floor, secret endings for every character, and an extra challenge in a new final floor and boss, Gungeon has more depth in its endgame than most roguelikes do in their whole game. But the problem is that the game feels so brutal when you first pick it up that most players bounce off it before they ever get that far. According to Steam, only about 20% of players who pick up Gungeon have beaten the game even once. So if you're in that 80%, I'm here to tell you, give it another shot, man. It's hard, it's unforgiving, sometimes it just feels straight up bullshit. But if you really put in the effort, somehow, Enter the Gungeon is worth it. S tier.